Okay, it's my turn again. Very short introduction. Yeah, okay, it's fine, thanks. I think there is really no need to waste time explaining the significance of this fundamentally important topic for our profession. Raik already basically said it all. The reason why we organized the conference is very obvious and straightforward. So as we are preparing to undertake a major revision of the fee scales and obviously scope of standards, the two are, because the two are organically connected. So it seemed only logical then to organize as a first step an overview of what's going on with architectural services and fees in elsewhere in Europe at the moment, to know a bit more on recent developments and to learn from the best international experiences, and then to see what would be the best course of action for our chamber as well. We invited a group of distinguished experts, most of them experienced practicing architects who are engaged in these on these issues in their respective professional associations, chambers and orders. Of course, it was very important to us to have indeed practicing architects who are dealing with this on a daily basis, but also among our lecturers, we have a couple of very knowledgeable and experienced academics, deeply dedicated to researching and lecturing on this topic, and professional practice standards, scope of architectural services, fees, and value of architectural work in general. I want to be as quick as possible in this introduction, so I won't introduce them individually. I read out their names and you can look up their biographies on the Chamber's webpage under the conference website. So we have today with us Mr. Axel Paulus from Switzerland, Professor Sarah Lapton and Manos Telakis from the UK, who will be joining us online, Mrs. Carla Lima Vieira from Portugal, Cornel Kobak from Slovakia, Mr. Alexandru Cavazdea from Romania. Tomorrow will join us Mr. Pfeiffer from, Matthias Pfeiffer from Germany, Frank Stasi from Austria is here with us, and Mima Suhodol, our neighbor from Slovenia. Dear speakers, very warm welcome to you, and thank you all for coming and sharing with us your knowledge and expertise in this area. As we can see from the, in a way, from the geographical spread, the focus was in a way centrally European, let's say, or mostly due to the lecturers we wanted to invite, mostly due to shared professional and educational traditions, also legislative and cultural traditions in a way, maybe business culture and so on. But we also wanted to add other overviews, for example, like from Portugal, a country with great architectural culture and tradition, to see how things are working there, and also from UK, mostly because of its strong tradition of professional services and business standards, and Royal Institute of British Architects continuous work on supporting its membership and promoting the highest professional practice standards and services. Few technical remarks on the program. We have a roundtable discussion scheduled for tomorrow. That will be time for the audience to ask the questions as well and to participate in the discussion. Mr. Paulus has to leave right after his lecture, so should there be questions for him, we would take them right away after his presentation, but it has to be really short. And same goes for Professor Sarah Lapton and Manos Telakis, who will join us online but cannot stay for long, and they're online, so if there are questions, we can take them right away. There is, I don't know, about 50 of us here in the hall, and there were supposed to be close to 800 online participants. I don't know if this is so, but it's an impressive number. For the online audience, there is a chat option for asking questions, and someone will be monitoring, so we'll summarize the questions or comments afterwards. That was the technical stuff. A very few general introductory remarks in addition to those that Raika raised. Most of you are familiar with, but perhaps a little bit to introduce Croatian context to our guests and to remind younger colleagues maybe of the long and complex history of the scales in general and especially in Croatia. I'll focus on my fees on my presentation today on fees, and Damir Mance, who will still join us tomorrow online, will speak a little bit more about scope of service and standards in his introduction. So the shortest possible overview, and also perhaps to raise some general consideration for our audience and the discussion tomorrow. What is the fair / appropriate / true financial value of architects' work? Well, as we all know, historically, traditionally, the architect's fee for a particular project was calculated as percentage of overall construction cost. And this was, in a way, a very easy and elegant way of calculating the fee, right? For a full design service on a project. We know, confirmed that at least from the end of 18th century, this was a common way of calculating the fees. For example, Sir John Soane, who was appointed chief architect and surveyor to the Bank of England building in London, was given 5% fee from the overall construction cost paid every 6 months. And this was another architect, British-born American architect, wrote a letter to his clients at the end of 18th century in the United States saying that all the European, German, French, and British architects charge 5% of their. So this was way how it was done, right? And this was end of the 18th century. In the second half of the 19th century, most of the European professional associations, which were established by then, published some sort of fee scales, which basically resemble to what we were using up till recently. Buildings were divided in several categories, and then there was percentages for the fee depending on the construction cost. This one is from this book from 1901, but already in 1860s, this system was spread out through Europe. The fees gradually rose. This was actually the first that was published in Croatia, which is a translation from the Austrian example, published only a year earlier from the Austrian Society of Engineers and Architects. Of course, they were not obligatory in today's terms, but they were indicative on the same principle and for different design phases and tasks. We also then had different systems throughout the 20th century. In spite of the change of political and economical systems, that was the same principle, even when it used to be only internal fee scales for particular design offices. The same thing also was typical of the United States. I put the American example because the first attack on this system and overall the idea that there should be a fee system actually started in the United States when American Justice Department investigated AIA over the field case in 1971 and then again in 1990s, because the antitrust lawyers claimed that the AIA's fee schedules were equal to price fixing and that this was against the competition. So just a short chronology that we all know that our chamber was, well, at that point, joint chambers of architects and engineers in construction was established in 1998. One of the first and probably the most important things that the chamber did was to issue official fee scales in 1999, which actually were in force all the way till 2013-14. Interestingly enough, in 2011, for a short period of time, 3 years, the fee scales actually became mandatory even in the law. Right? The fee scale system itself was basically developed from the German Hawaii with a little bit of other experiences, so adapted, adjusted to our system. And I think it's very important to, I feel very obligated to mention the group of people who did this work on behalf of the chamber, especially Mr. Zlatko Hanžek, then also Mrs. Brankica Petrović, Sanja Cupec, and later on Srećko Merle, Nenad Konja, and others who joined. So soon after, the online calculator was developed, and also a few years after that, simple versions of both of the rule books was published. In these rule books, there were interpolation curves that was easy, understandable to use, and everything. Buildings were divided in 5 categories, and so on. It was easier to correct the. Obviously, it depended a lot on the information on construction costs per type of buildings. They were an important element of the system. So Mr. Hanžek, in a way, took care of this updating. And this was and still is perhaps a major problem of the system even now, because there is no credible authority, institute, or organization that actually follows the actual construction costs. Mr. Hanžek used adapted, adjusted the prices using the Baukosteninformationszentrum BKI systems in a way. So then in 2011, basically the same time when the fee scales became mandatory, the Croatian Competition Agency, or Agencija za zaštitu tržišnog natjecanja, started a procedure with the chamber that Rajka was talking about. And so after long ping pong and struggle, basically new architectural service standards bylaws were accepted in 2013. Of course, the biggest challenge, and was based on hourly rates. The biggest challenge was to find out what's the actual man-hour rate at the market for different types of office positions, principal architect in charge, job captain, project architect, and so on. And so the surveys were organized on several occasions, and the results that came back were basically shamelessly devastating, embarrassingly low hourly rates. And we can only assume that either the offices did not know how to calculate the gross billable hours, or did not want to report the actual amounts. Anyway, as a result, the average gross billable man-hour was determined to be quite low, and remained such in all the successive survey done by Ipsos. So this is it. Basically, in the table, all the design works depending on the construction costs were translated into cumulative man-hour rates, and then also distributed per design services. Let's skip. Obviously, online calculator was also adapted, which was now reconfigured to show hourly rates. The issues affecting, well, I won't go through the issues. I think we are all painstakingly aware of the issues. This pressure against the fee scales, and especially the cost percentage algorithm, happened everywhere across Europe in 2000, and then probably what happened in the UK in a way is also very indicative of the entire European continent. Maybe Sarah and Manos will speak a little bit about it, but the fee scales, for example, in the UK were mandatory until 1982, then advisory until 1992, and then were completely abolished or even forbidden in 2009. And since then, like the entire architectural profession across Europe was somehow encouraged to calculate fees on a resource base or time change or value added basis, well, as appropriate. I think I better close. I want to basically to leave as much time as possible to Mr. Paulus. I had a few more. I wanted to end with these few thoughts, basically as a as a thought teaser. So as we welcome our first speaker today, Mr. Paulus from Switzerland.